Okay. Thank y'all for tuning in again. I got a confession to make. I guess I got to be more intentional with this. One of my, I want to say one of my viewers was texting me, getting on my case, talking about when you going to do another podcast? Are you going to be doing another podcast? So I'm going to be more intentional and set time. I'm gonna make a schedule is what I'm gonna do. But we're gonna pick up from last week. We were talking about camouflage faith, which remember I told you that is basically living in fear. And we talked about, things that we may be afraid of and why we're afraid of them and how we try to save faith. We're walking in faith, or we're actually sitting in faith, but you can't sit in faith. You have to walk in faith. Faith is moving. Faith is an action where it's something that you do. You know, and then I said we were going to go into maybe the types of fear. But let me interject here again. Fear is good. Fear comes to let us know that there needs to be a change, that you have a choice or whatever. When your adrenaline gets to rushing through your body, it sends your mind a signal that, hey, it's time to get up out of here, which is the fight syndrome. The flight syndrome, or it's time to stand here and knuckle up and fight. So, fear in itself is good. We're going to learn how to take fear and turn it for our good, because fear comes to instruct us. It comes to help us to adapt, or maybe to let go of some things that we don't need to be attached to or connected to. One thing I wanted to mention before we get too far, like I say, I'm not going to make these too long, because I understand a lot of people have jobs and they don't have time to sit and look at no hour-long video. I know we got pause button and everything, but for me to overload you with information, that's not being respectful. As a therapist, an intern, I've learned that people digest, in bite sizes. So I'm going to try to keep these videos about an hour. About 30 minutes, half an hour. That way you can take the topics and digest them. And you can go at your own pace. I always say, start a journal. Whether it's on paper, like old school, or, on social, I ain't gonna say social media, because if you're on social media, you're careful of what you put on there. But you can start like a video log that you keep to yourself, or any kind of journal. You know what, the iPhone, began with the iPhone 15, I think, has a little journal app in the iPhone, and I know it gives you suggestions or places you've been to reflect. We got to learn to stay in tune with ourselves. That's what our emotions are for. Our emotions are to gauge and help us to understand how we are feeling in the moment. If we feeling afraid, then that means there's some sense of danger. And like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's got to be a sense of danger, whether it's tangible or intangible, whether it's real or something that we just hoaxed up in our mind. We think of things, and because it's real to us, it's real. But it may be imaginary. We may be worrying too much and thinking about something that we shouldn't be thinking about. Like I said, we're going to get into that a little bit. But I wanted to address 3 points that I want you to think about, because I don't want to miss it, and I might have time to visit at the end. The first point I want you to think about is the company you keep. When we living in fear, it may be attached to the company that we keep. who we spend our time with, how we spend our time. Um, if you're always in fear when someone comes around, then maybe you don't need to be around that person. Or, you know, maybe the fear is in you feeling like you're not worthy or you're not enough, and maybe we're experiencing depression. Then that means we need to get to a place where we have some sense of pleasure. you know we need to feel good about ourselves. That comes personal development. I'm a big advocate for personal development, because that's how I got to where I am. I just fell in love with self-help books, and when YouTube came along, I fell in love with the TED Talks and all of that, because like I shared before, being sexually molested for 14 years of my life would have me sitting in the corner sucking on my thumb. But I didn't want my life to be like that. I didn't want to be sitting in the corner scared to talk to anybody, or thinking about what people, feeling dirty inside. I didn't want what happened to me to define me. So I began to get into self-development, personal development. I would get every self-help book there was, to the point I'd just be getting them. Barnes & Noble, that was my favorite place. Walden Books. I was a big fan of Walden Books. Anyway, I would get into those aisles. I stay in those aisles for hours, and then mess around there and put coffee shops in them or whatever. But I love books because I love the fact I can go and just look and read and spend some time, some me time, pouring into me. That's what a lot of people don't do, is we don't pour into ourselves. So personal development, I'm a big advocate. I'm a big fan of personal development. If you don't know something, get to a book, get to a library, get to a YouTube video, TED Talk video, get somewhere, get some knowledge so you can develop yourself. Because if you're not developing, you're dying. It don't make no sense to do that. There's a whole world of opportunities, be it negative or positive. You choose the side you want to be in the world, be in the Christian community, the religious community. There's a whole world of opportunity. And for you to sit in a corner and be in fear, not feeling worthy, not feeling hopeless, feeling down, feeling depressed, feeling rejected, feeling like a failure. Get up and do something. Get up and positively develop yourself. Study on a personal level. We go to school, and everybody know I got all them degrees. And it was kind of something that I wanted to learn about. I tell everybody all the time, I started school because I wanted to figure out how to fix me. I couldn't afford to go to see a therapist. At one point, I lived in a town that I really didn't even know about therapy, and it was, a one stoplight town. Matter of fact, I take that back, 2 stoplights, because they had one by the base. But when I found out about therapy and I met my therapist, she's gone home now. When I saw the glow in her, she made me want to become a therapist. So just the impact she had on my life let me know my purpose and what I wanted to do. And like I tell the people in my group, you gotta have a purpose, a why big enough. Your why got to be big enough to motivate you to do whatever it is that you got in your mind and your heart to do. If not, you're going to keep procrastinating about it, and you're going to, go around, or you're going to change this job. Stop getting a job. Don't get a career. Get a purpose. The thing that you love to do. If you're not doing what you love to do, you're dying. If you're not doing what you love to do, you're living in fear. So make sure what you're doing is purposeful, and make sure you're doing it because you love to do it. And like I said, your purpose, that's the thing that you can do whether you get paid for it or not. I'm actually kind of living that, but I'm going to leave that on the table. But make sure that you're doing what you need to do, what fulfills you. I run around every day making people's hearts smile. I love to see people transition, from the place they don't want to be into the place that they want to be. I love to see their heart smile, not just somebody throwing a smile on their face, but somebody that smiles from their heart, from the inside out. And you can tell that because of the impact, because of something that you did for a person made their life better. You can tell how they feel. You can tell because you can see the change. You can see the transition in them, I want to say. You can see how their life is not the same, how it doesn't go back, how it's completely different from when they first met you. So that's what your purpose is. Find out what your purpose is, and it's got to draw a passion in you. Your why has got to be big enough that it propels you off of that sofa, out of that chair, to do the thing that you know that you know that you know that you are called to do, that you are chosen to do, that you were created on this earth to do. We all was created on this earth for a purpose. And when you find out that what that is, opportunities open up for you. Your gift will make room for you. You'll get all kind of gifts. You'll figure out all your talents. I mean, they're already inside of you. You just have to do something to activate them and open them up. So, bring them to fruition. Somebody asked me about my slogan on there that says, you manifest what you are. Exactly. You have to be that what you want to manifest. That's why Michelle Obama wrote a book called Becoming. She was becoming into who she was. You can't have nothing that you don't have. That makes sense. I can't give you a glass of water if I don't have a glass of water. You have to first become the thing that you want. You have to become the thing that you desire. It has to manifest out of you. That's why we look for love in all the wrong places, because we look for love on the outside through everybody else, what everybody gives to us, what everybody does to us. And that's like happiness. Those are fleeting. But when we find love on the inside of us, and it flows from the inside of us, that's joy, unspeakable joy. So make sure when we're looking for love, we first look within us, because you can't have what you don't, you can't give what you don't already have. So if somebody was to love you and you don't have love for yourself, you're never going to recognize it. So in order to manifest love, you have to first love. You have to first have love for yourself. It has to grow and blossom and bloom within you. So that's what that means. Maybe I'll do a whole session on that so that people get a better understanding. Maybe people don't, maybe I should say humans, like my clients say, humans don't get what they desire and get what they want because they don't understand that the thing or the person or whatever they want, they got to become it themselves first. You have to already have it. You got to believe it to achieve it. I know you've heard that before. You got to have it in your possession. So today we're going to talk about the types of fear. And fear is a tool that can be used to guide us into the things that we want, into the things that we manifest or want to manifest, because if it doesn't feel right, if it terrifies you, makes you afraid, you're either going to run from it or maybe you're going to stand for it and you're going to fight for it. Some things in life is like, how bad do you want it? But some things in life is fear and terror. You need to get away from it. Like I said, that first point was, mind the company that you keep, who you spend time with. The second point I want to make sure we get is our environment. How do we spend our time? What are we doing? What environments are we in? Are we in environments that are conducive to what we want and who we are? What we want to achieve, who we want to be? Or are we in environments that are totally opposite of our character or who we want to portray? Are we in environments trying to pretend to be something that we're not? Trying to pretend that we have arrived at a certain destination or a certain desire, but really, truly, we haven't attained it for ourselves. Hanging out in the middle income class, but our credit cards are maxed out. We have to grow into these things that we want to be a part of. Because if we just hang out in them, after a while, stuff break. You can't hang out. no more, because you don't have the funds or whatever to maintain the lifestyle or the look that you're trying to portray. So need to be mindful of the environment that we spend time in. Is it conducive, or does it complement who we are today? Not who we're trying to go or be like, but it's good to go spy out the land, to see something. Ooh, I want that car, I want that Cadillac. But then I got to come back here in the present and work on my finances, work on, my income, save and everything to get that the way it's supposed to be gotten. If not, I'm going to jump out there and get it in a way that it's not supposed to be gotten. I'm going to throw myself in a whole bunch of debt. And eventually the debt is going to take place and it's going to overwhelm me, and I'm going to lose that I had and that I wanted too. So make sure that we are spending our time in environments that is conducive to what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to represent. The third point is what we allow in our mind. We got to be careful of what we allow to occupy our mind. If we're sitting out with conversation that's not positive, then we're going to eventually, we say we're not, but we eventually take that information and it changes our spirit towards whatever person, place, or thing that information is about. So if we allow negativity to occupy our mind, we are going to constantly eat up our spirit, and we're going to be negative, and we're going to start fearing some things. So we can't be in negative environments and have a positive mindset. If we hang out in negative environments, eventually the environment will change. That's culture. Whatever culture you hang out in, whatever culture you grew up in, is the culture that you're going to permeate. It's the culture that is going to come out of you, that you're going to represent. Like somebody that grew up in the Bronx, you can hear it in their language and their attitude and their behavior and the way they think and do things. Somebody who grew up in the hood, you can hear it in their attitude and their body language and the way they do things. Somebody that grew up in Ivy League college, you can hear it in their body and their language and how they carry themselves or whatever. So we got to be careful of what we allow to occupy our minds. So that's what I want to make sure we got those three out the way. As I'm going through this, talk about the types of fear, we want to make sure that we're paying attention and thinking about how these types of fear relate to the company that we keep, the environment that we're in, and what we're allowing to occupy our minds. Okay, there are two types of fear. One is acute. It's called acute fear. Acute fear is a normal emotion that signals a potential threat to our physical or emotional safety. Acute, I'm trying to think of an example. We walking down the street and we see a Doberman Pinscher or a Rottweiler just sitting there salivating, looking at us. Instantly, our adrenaline is going to rise. That's a normal reaction. It's a normal emotion that signals a potential threat. Potentially, either one of them dogs can run up and eat us alive. Salivate. So, fear comes to let us know that there's a potential danger, that there's something need to be done. We either need to man up, woman up, human up, buckle up, or we need to get away from there, get out of that situation to save our life, save our soul, or whatever. So when we experience immediate threat, our blood starts pumping faster. Like I said, our adrenaline shoots through our veins, and it heightens our awareness. When we're standing out there looking at the Rottweiler looking at us salivating, we are very much aware of the Rottweiler. We're not too much aware of our surroundings or what's around us, or if somebody walking behind us or on the side of us. We ain't even really looking at our peripheral vision, but it heightens our awareness to that we notice the Rottweiler, And we got to make quick decisions. We got to make a fast action to either save ourselves or save those around us or whatever. Like when you're in a ship and it's got a hole in it. Not only selfish people, let's say, they do this, but if you're not a selfish person and if you're not a self-righteous person, not only are you going to think to save yourself, but you're going to think to save all of the others that's around you. It's not you by yourself kind of thing. You want to think of a way to make sure that everybody, is alive, that everybody makes it to shore. And, even the ones that can't swim, you want to make sure those that can't swim got the life jackets. The ones that can swim, if there ain't enough, you want to make sure, everybody gets out alive. But there are some people who are so self-centered and selfish. We want to talk about narcissism. Narcissistic people. I did a few videos on narcissism not long ago, and because it resonated with an individual who swore up and down I was talking about that individual, I just backed off of that for a minute. I am a mental health provider, and that's what I study, is the mind and condition and diagnosis. When I come on here, I am not directing at any one person, but I do say, if the shoe fits, it might be conviction. So it's not judgment, it's conviction. So take conviction, like constructive criticism, get the help you need, and make your life better. Versus getting upset because somebody may be blasting you out or whatever. Narcissist. There is not just one narcissist in the world. Let me raise my hand. I too have narcissistic tendencies. I give the way I do so that I am not narcissistic. I am so set and stuck in my ways. I am so comfortable with who I am and who God has created me to be, to where I want things my way, period. I live in my house. I love being in my house by myself because I don't want to deal with other people and the way they think, especially if they don't think like me. So God is working on me with that. I am not married because I enjoy myself, as far as I ain't got to clean up behind nobody. I ain't got to argue with nobody. I ain't got to, do what I don't want to do. I can do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. I'm so independent and enjoying it. I am living my best life when it comes to that. It is when I hook up with people, or let's say humans, to where, you start getting the friction. I like things my way. I like Burger King. I had a double Whopper today. But I like things my way, and that's why I enjoy my time. And I ain't gonna say I isolate, but it could be to a point where, I don't stay at home all the time. I go out, do what I gotta do, make my money, come home, whatever. But I am comfortable with myself because I don't want to argue or negotiate nothing. And I know the belief system that I have. I understand the faith walk that I walk. I understand that I'm supposed to have, or if I were to have, that he would be the head and I would be, the body or whatever. And I ain't found no head that I am willing to look up to. Because if I'm going to submit to something, I got to submit to something that I look up to. I'm not going to submit to something that I got to bend down, teach, train, mother, and get them to another level. I'm going to submit to something that I got to look up to. And the way that I have brought myself, or, personally developed myself in this world, and how my father has raised me, is they got to be up there for me to look up to them. So I'm not going to be no sugar mama. I don't need no sugar daddy. But if I'm going to submit, it's got to be something where I look up, not bend over. So I am happy with where I am. I am happy in who I am. So you got to make sure that your lifestyle, your language, be it verbal and your body language, is conducive or relational or is fitting the desires that you want. You can't want one thing and live another way. You can't want a big house and a car, but you gamble and everything at the casino every night. How you gonna save the money? Where the down payment gonna come from? So you gotta have a lifestyle that matches the purpose and the goals that you want to achieve. Okay, with all that being said, we're gonna jump into the types of fears. I did that, so we might have to do the types of fears later, because it's only 2. Let's try to make it. I might go over a little bit instead of the 30 minutes, but I'm trying to be a woman of my word and just do 30 minutes. But like I said, acute fear. That's like the loss of income. If you're losing your income, instantly you're going to be afraid of being homeless or whatever. And you got to start either doing some things, maybe get some side hustles, or some people just give it all up and they just go get a cardboard box and they'd rather live that type of life because they're tired of fighting. There are a lot of people with that mentality. I'm in the mental health industry, so it all depends on where you are when life happens or whatever, how you're going to perceive that. The other type of fear that I want to talk about is chronic fear or indirect fear. That's like fear the world is going to end. Fear the pandemic came, and it's fear of viruses, fear. Everybody still, I ain't gonna say everybody, some people still wearing the mask. I ain't saying it's gone yet, but it's not as heavy as it used to be. But there are people still wearing the mask. Even me, when I get into a congested environment, because I know that it's still not gone, that it's still around, I even put on my mask. I keep it in my purse, in my car, somewhere. But living in the fear that the world is going to end, Armageddon, which that's scripture, but it's not likely to happen. As we don't have to bide our life by it like that, to where we so scared we can't go outside. Plus, if it happened, what's staying inside gonna do anyway? What's hoarding food? If the stores are all blown up, what getting all the money? What you gonna do? So if bombs start coming, we got people living over there in the other countries that is experiencing this, and money ain't doing them no good right now. They dodging bombs. What is that gonna do? So the way to fight that is make sure that your soul is right. Make sure that your creator. If you don't believe in heaven or hell, that's up to you. But don't stop nobody that do. I would hate to be somebody that gets on the other side and find out that there is a heaven or hell. That's the way I look at it. So whatever you want to do it. But don't hinder nobody else if they don't want to do it. So like I said, that's we have the acute fear and we have the chronic fear, where it's low-level stressful events, low-level things in your life that's constantly eating at you. You constantly don't have no money. You always, worrying about this, worrying about that. You're sitting there watching the news. The news don't come to tell you something good all the time. Matter of fact, it's got more negative stuff to tell you than it does anything else. So stop watching stuff, pay attention to what occupies your mind. If your mind is occupied by negative events, that's what it's going to do. A lot of people occupy their mind with religion. Religion is the laws and the standards and the morals and everything. I get that. But a child of God has a relationship. So that's different. To sit there and be a religion, the laws and everything, that's being judgmental. A relationship may have a little conviction, a little constructive criticism, little chastening or whatever, but judgment points the finger, and you can't point the finger and draw nobody to you. Love draws. It doesn't repel. It doesn't make somebody walk away. But like I said, I wanted to do 30 minutes. We talk about the types of fear. So if you have acute fear, that means your adrenaline is rushing, and you need to figure out In that moment with that Rottweiler, are you going to run, get out of their flight, or you're going to stand there and fight? Maybe you backed up against a wall and you can't fight. How you going to fight? Is you going to try to give them a piece of meat, or how you going to fight? But you got choices to make. And people sit in fear because they don't make a choice. Chronic fear. Get out of the news media, the social media. Get out of the news. Whatever is chronically making you afraid, find a way to reduce it. Find a way to eliminate it. You can't live in fear. You can only exist, which means you can only sit. Like I said before in the last session, you walk in faith. And if you're not able to walk, then you're sitting in fear. So I'm going to let that be this session. Types of fear. 2 types of fear. Acute fear and chronic fear. What are you sitting in? Be intentional.